Hello friends, welcome back to our channel. In today's lecture, I am going to discuss the analysis of consumer behavior based on ordinal utility approach. We have already discussed what is ordinal utility in the previous lecture. So, on the basis of the ordinal utility approach, the consumer behavior can be utilized with the help of indifference curve. Well, this is a new technique which was used by the economists, in which they have utilized this indifference schedule or indifference curve tool in order to find the consumer behavior. So we know that in ordinal utility concept, the utilities that a consumer gain by consuming a commodity and a service cannot be measured in absolute terms, because that is the case of cardinal utility. But in case of ordinal utility, a consumer can always rank his preference among the various products, commodities that he is using. For example, if a consumer is using only two commodities, chocolate and ice cream, and he is using his limited income in a rational manner, in which he is using both of these products in such a way that he is maximizing his utility. That means he is gaining the maximum satisfaction out of the consumption of these two items. So, ordinal utility says that we do not know how much util the consumer is getting from consuming every unit of chocolate or ice cream, but we can always ask a consumer whether he prefers chocolate over ice cream or ice cream over the chocolate. So, a consumer can very easily rank according to his particular taste and preference, that I would prefer the chocolate more than the ice cream. So, with this concept, we can somewhere derive the consumer's demand curve for the various commodities that he is going to utilize in a given constrained budget. Suppose if he has 10 rupees to spend and the cost of ice cream is rupees 2 and chocolate is 1, then if the consumer says that he prefers more chocolate over ice cream, then we can at least have the rough idea from here that he can use 10 chocolates with this 10 rupees or only 5 ice creams. And since he prefers more chocolate over ice cream, so he would first choose chocolate to consume. Once he is satisfied with consuming the chocolate, it may be at 5 units of chocolate or 2 units or 4 units or any 6 units, then he will switch to start using ice cream, because that is the second best important or the choicest thing that he wants to use. So this is basically the kind of concept that the ordinal utility approach utilizes. The assumptions on which this ordinal utility theory is based are four. One is rationality, which is always there in economics, that a consumer is a rational being and he or she is always trying to maximize the benefits with the constrained or given amount of income. Transitivity and consistency of choice. This is the second assumption. What does it mean? It means that whatever choices, suppose I have given this example of chocolate and ice cream, so it will remain consistent. The consumer will remain consistent at least for a period of a time in his choice, that he is not going to change his taste or preference very quickly. Only then this concept or this theory will hold true. But if there is one consumer who is switching or changing his preference itself, then this theory may not be very effective in order to draw the demand curve, and this indifference curve analysis will not be very helpful. Transitivity simply means if A says that if a person says that I prefer product A more than product B and product B more than product C, so it means from these two statements that A will definitely prefer product A very much over product C. So if you want to look at the relationship between A and C, which is not given here, but from these two statements you should be able to draw the same kind of conclusion. Means it is transitive. If A is preferred over B and B is preferred over C commodity, then A will be preferred over C. Okay, so this is the concept of transitivity. These are the assumptions just to make it simpler and to hold the theory true. Non-satiety, it simply means that it takes a lot of time, or that level of satisfaction, it is not easy to satisfy the consumer, or that the need or the requirement to fulfill one's desire is quite high. Then the fourth important assumption is diminishing marginal rate of substitution. This concept I will discuss in detail in the next slide. And with this fourth assumption, the ordinal utility concept of consumption theory is presented here. Now we have discussed or talked about the concept of indifference curve. Now let us understand what is indifference curve, because it is the major tool which is utilized to do the consumer analysis, consumer's behavior analysis in ordinal utility approach. Indifference curve, basically it is like this. Here we have the indifference curve in this panel where I am pointing right now. What does it show? It simply gives us the combination, various combinations. We can see A, B, C, D, E. Combinations of what? We have taken two commodities, okay. Generally a person uses so many commodities in a real life, but for the sake of simplicity we have taken just two commodities. Let us say a person is using commodity X and commodity Y, and he has limited income, as we already know, that is one of the assumptions. So how he will utilize his money between these two commodities? So here we have the combination in which point A we can see that commodity Y, 14 units of commodity Y and 1 unit of commodity X. That is one combination that we have, which is given the name of A, that it could be one of the combination in which a consumer is ready to utilize his income. That whatever amount of money he has, he will, with that money he will use 14 units of commodity Y and 1 unit of commodity X. Okay. Now another combination we can have in which we can see that the consumer uses 8 units of commodity Y, 10 units of commodity Y and 2 units of commodity X. So we can see here commodity X, when the commodity X is increasing, commodity Y is decreasing, because one has to sacrifice one commodity in order to increase the use of another commodity. Why? Because money income is limited. In that kind of whatever money you have, either you can increase the consumption of one commodity, but you cannot increase the consumption of both the commodities, because then you will not have that kind of money. So indifference curve simply is the depiction of indifference schedule, which is a table which is given here. So when we draw the when we depict the indifference schedule or indifference table on a map, we get indifference curve. So indifference curve is the locus. It's basically a locus of all the points or of all the combinations that represents the consumption of two commodities. Now why it is called indifference? It simply is called indifference curve because no matter whichever combination a consumer is going to utilize, whether he is going to utilize combination A in which he is using only 1 unit of commodity X and 14 unit of commodity Y, or if he is using combination B in which he will increase the consumption of commodity X by 1 unit and he has to forego the commodity Y by 4 units. So whether he uses this combination A or this combination B or this combination C, this D or E, whichever combination he is using, the total utility that is deriving is same. It is same throughout. So when the utility derived from this combination or this or this or this or this is same, when the utility derived from all of these is same, if it remains same, then a consumer becomes indifferent towards using any of the combination because he is going to get same amount of utility. So it does not matter much to him whether he chooses combination A or B or C. He will have same level of satisfaction. If he is using 3 units of X and 7 units of commodity Y, whatever satisfaction he is deriving here, let's say X, okay, it will remain X even if he uses less of commodity Y and 1 more unit of commodity X. So simply indifference curve gives us various combinations of the commodities, two commodities that a consumer may utilize, and all of these combinations will give same level of satisfaction. That is why the consumer will remain indifferent towards all of these. He may choose A, B, C or D. Any of this will give him equal satisfaction or same level of satisfaction. So this is the indifference schedule and this is indifference curve, and that is the concept of indifference curve. Okay, so when we can have multiple indifference curve, when we have more than one indifference curve and we place it on the graph, then it becomes indifference map. These are different indifference curves. IC1, IC2, IC3. This IC1 will hold so many combinations, but each of these combinations which will have various combinations of goods Y and goods X, this all will give same level of satisfaction to the consumer when he is going to use. But when it comes to IC2, it will also have different combinations of goods Y and goods X, but the level of satisfaction at this will be higher than IC1. So the higher the curve of indifference, this indifference curve 3 will have higher level of satisfaction than the indifference curve 2, and indifference curve 2 will have higher level of satisfaction than indifference curve 1. So one must not confuse between these three. If we have more than one indifference curve, so each indifference curve will show another different level of satisfaction. But on the same curve, various combinations will give same level of satisfaction, and hence the consumer will remain indifferent towards using any of these combination, and he may or she may choose any of these combination. So next, once we have understood, I hope you have understood the indifference curve. Now the next concept that we have is the diminishing marginal rate of substitution. This is our fourth assumption in the ordinal utility analysis, and let us understand what does it mean. Marginal rate of substitution simply means that when you are foregoing any unit or any amount of one commodity, here commodity Y, you were using 10 units of commodity Y when you were consuming 1 unit of commodity X. Okay, but if you wish to increase the consumption of commodity X by one more unit, you will have to forego some amount or some units of commodity Y. In this combination, we can see 3 units of commodity Y has to be sacrificed in order to increase one more unit of commodity X. Okay, indifference curve says it does not matter much to the consumer. He will gain, total utility will be same. So, he may be ready to forego 3 units of Y to add one more unit of X. Then we have third combination in which we find that one more unit of X has been added, and for that some amount of commodity Y has to be foregone. How much it is? 7, 5. So it is 2. So here we can clearly see that commodity Y is being sacrificed in order to increase the consumption of commodity X by 1 units. Okay, but the amount of commodity Y that we are sacrificing is getting diminished. It was 3 in case B, and then it became only 2 in case C, and by the time we arrive at this case D, we see the difference is only 1, from 5 units to 4 units. So what does it mean? It simply says that the rate of the substitution is diminishing. However, substitution is there because limited income is there. So if you want to increase the consumption of commodity X, you have to forego consumption of commodity Y. But the rate at which you were ready to substitute commodity X with commodity Y was higher initially, but subsequently it keeps on diminishing. It means that you are not ready to forego much of commodity Y in order to increase the consumption of commodity X. This is also the case which comes from the law of diminishing marginal utility, because marginal utility diminishes. Now when you are adding one more commodity of X, you are getting satisfied with this. So you no longer wish to sacrifice more of Y. Okay. So that is why here if we put this into the equation form, we can see marginal rate of substitution between X and Y. It is nil in the first case, then it becomes 1:3, 1:2, 1:1, which is clearly indicating the rate of substitution is decreasing. Earlier you forego 3 units of commodity Y for 1 unit of commodity X, then you sacrificed only 2 units of commodity Y in order to gain 1 more unit of commodity X, and in the last case only 1 unit of commodity Y has been sacrificed for 1 more unit of commodity X, and it makes both the commodities to come at the equal footing. So marginal rate of substitution is there. It will define how a consumer will switch between 2 commodities until both the commodities become equal and they give equal marginal utility, and we will see that the commodities has become equal. Okay, so this is the fourth assumption of ordinal utility analysis of consumer behavior, and that helps in further deriving or arriving at the derivation of demand curve. Hope it is clear so far. We will discuss other concepts in the next video. Thank you.